very sparse agenda this evening, and the last agenda item will have a lot of interest, but prior to that, I think it's going to go pretty smooth. So we had no minutes. We have, does anyone have any issues with conflict of interest? God, I look like I've been in an oven and I'm baked. Okay, so no conflict of interest. No findings of fact for this evening as well. So we'll dive right into the first agenda item, and that's subdivision project for the Marlowe subdivision at 1246 West Winchester Street. It's just an extension.
Yes, that's bottom line. He just was waiting on the canal company to get their work done, because that's one of the conditions of approval before he can record.
Okay. So very, very routine essentially then.
And he just had to request before it expired, which is in 2 days.
Okay. Okay. Any questions from anybody on that, or? Okay. Well, let's move on to the next one. And the Wild Rose Estates subdivision, our monthly visit to the Wild Rose Estate subdivision. And who's handling this, Susan?
Susan as well.
Yep. Yeah, me and the Wild Rose were like that. Yes, so bottom line on this one is the owner of lot 4, which is to the west of Tony Rezat.
It's a little hard to hear you, Susan.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm struggling a little bit.
okay, that's right. I knew that. Thank you. Thank you.
There we go.
Okay, so lot number 4, owned by Stanley Joseph. They were in the process of building a new home, and during the footing inspection, it was noted that the side setback did not meet the 8-foot minimum, and it had been staked incorrectly, and it was 2 feet short for the side setback. So rather than tear out the footings, etc., they have just asked for a 2-foot boundary line adjustment between lot 1 and 4.
Okay.
And so other than that, it should meet all the area and setbacks if it's approved and amended. That's, yeah,
Yeah, very,
Is
very
that really
routine
cheaper?
once again.
Going through the subdivision? Who knows?
I can't imagine that that's cheaper. It seems like it'd be cheaper to rip out the concrete and move your footings over 2 feet.
that was the owner's solution. The property owner.
Is the owner of that single property, or is it someone that owns all the property and is intending to sell them and will get more money for a bigger house? Doesn't matter, but
From my understanding is it is the owner of the lot and the new home.
Huh.
They are building a home for themselves.
I mean, it doesn't matter if they want to change the property line; it's legal.
Yeah.
But
That's what the process. So
Well, this has got to be about the last thing we'll deal with on this. I think all the lots are pretty well established now. So
hopefully this will be the last of any revisions. Yes.
okay. All right. Well, that takes us to agenda item number 6 and 7, the general plan amendment and zone map amendment for 388 East, 4800 South, Dondi Reichman, I guess is how you say the last name. I hope, is that right? Is it Reichman?
Reichman's how she's said it to us, yeah.
Okay, good. I just don't, I hate it when I mispronounce people's names. So, I think there's just a lot of general misunderstanding on this one, Jared. People think we're rezoning the entire parcels.
Yeah, that's been the case with a couple of phone calls, and then the belief that what Mrs. Reichman is trying to do is tear down the 2 homes and build an apartment complex of some kind.
Right.
So that's clearly not the case. I'm going to share the screen just to show the slides that we're going to show with the public, so you guys know what's coming. Okay, that might help a little bit. So let me just pull this up. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to zip forward to those slides just because I think that they'll help people understand. A couple of people that we talked to on the phone, I think in the end they understood, but they were still opposed to the idea at all. but it's just to make sure that everybody on the commission is clear about what we're talking about. This parcel back here, just over 3,000 square feet, and it actually shares an address with this front lot here that's 388 East, 4800 South. So it's a little confusing, but it's an undivided parcel that runs in back of both of these two subdivided lots. And it's been used over the years, and when I say years, I mean a multitude of years. It's many, many years. It forms the rear setback of this home, for example, and the garage is partly, for this home, is partly built across that line. It should have been combined to these properties years ago. It was never done. When Dondi Reichman, who now owns them, approached staff about title issue came up in selling them. She's got this particular property up for sale. She's inherited it from her father. And the title issue, we can't really resolve until we combine these properties together, part of this land to this lot and part of this land to this lot, which is entirely appropriate, but it's not zoned the same as those properties, and it's not in the same future land use designation. So here are those two lots that we were just talking about, 388 East and 398 East, 4800 South. They're in the RM10 zone and have been for many, many years. And that back parcel that they've been used with, that they've always just assumed as part of their lots, is not in the same zone. It's not in the same zone probably because they zoned everything that touched 4800 South, RM10, and things that weren't contiguous to it just didn't get zoned. We didn't catch that when we did the general plan update. As you can see, it's down here in the low density section, and because it doesn't touch 4800 South.
And don't we have the same problem to the east?
We do. Do you mean here or further east?
No, to the
west.
That's
So the west, yeah.
Exactly the same problem.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's not. We've actually had that happened with our RNB rezone that we just did on Winchester Street a while ago. Do you remember how we had sections that were supposed to be in the RNB zone that were not included in the future land use map for the RNB zone because they didn't technically touch Winchester Street? And the instructions that we gave our consultants for the mapping was, well, everything that fronts Winchester Street is supposed to be in the RNB, so that's what they did. Fouled that up. The same kind of thing, we do this very much in the same vein. So we're supporting changing it. A couple of things that you're going to hear, I think.
Let me ask a question there first, Jared, before you go on. Go back to the one we were looking at. So, yes, this one. So to the west, the two parcels there, the lot line goes from the street all the way to the back.
Yes.
So you would assume that then the parcels behind the properties would then go to the designated property. So on the parcels that we're talking about tonight, your red box doesn't have a lot line going from the street all the way to the back. So how does that work?
So it doesn't have one. I would say it doesn't have one yet. That's the impetus for this request. So Mrs. Reichman would like to combine the parts of this lot that have been used by these front lots to them, but we won't let her do it until they're in the same zone. Okay. That's why she's asking for the rezone, so that she can combine them, combine this area of that 3,000 up here and this area of that 3,000 to this lot.
So my initial thought was, I guess all of that property could potentially go to one of those lots or the other.
Right, but it won't. It'll be the lot line adjustment that she wants to make is part of it to one and part to the other.
Right.
So
all right.
Can I ask you a question, Jared?
Sure.
I understand in 2017, the general plan was created in which that was to be rezoned RM multifamily low density. But I think the process is the city recommends that general plan, but it's not, the zoning isn't changed until individual property owners come and ask for the change. So I understand that area all in the darker yellow is in the general plan to be the multifamily, but is it all rezoned already? Has it all been rezoned?
Already in the RM10 zone. This is one of those cases where the city had rezoned at RM10 years ago, and we in the 2017 general plan future land use map, we updated the land use map to reflect the actual zoning, not the other way around. So it's a little different than normal. You have options that aren't in multifamily use, but they've been zoned multifamily for a number of years.
That's what I was gonna have to ask that, because I think that I live in this area. I think a large part of the community is confused because they feel like the zoning is a new change with the 2017 general plan, and it's always been single family, and now it's spotty coming into RM10. So they're surprised. This is their first to
Right.
hear of it.
Yeah. That's understandable. And the simple answer is that it's not. It's been RM10 zoning for a while. I don't have the actual numbers on how long, but for at least 6 years. It's been RM10 the whole time I've been here. Probably longer than that. It's actually, I know it goes back far enough for 07 at least, because this property at the corner that bugs so many people was RM10 for years and years, and people didn't realize it. So when they went to build the duplex, it was a shock. It's been RM10 for 13 years at least. So,
Good question.
but it's a good question, yep. But at least 13 years. My guess is too that there's some confusion on their part, because these are, and this is something that's going to come up, and I'd like to kind of get it out of the way. These two parcels right here, or these two lots rather, as they sit, they are not large enough to do anything but 2 units on or a duplex, because in the RM10 zone you get 7 units per acre, right? So you're going to hear people's comments tonight, perhaps saying, well, we're concerned that you're going to rezone this, and then they're doing that so that they can tear these homes down and build multifamily. They're able to tear these down right now with the zoning that's there without asking anybody's permission and build a duplex on it. But they're not, that's not their intent. And if this is aggregated to these properties, it would not take the square footage high enough to get anything more than a duplex anyway. So you're not going to see a triplex or a fourplex.
And the property to the east is a newer structure. It's
Yeah.
a new brick structure. Jared, that discussion you and I had about when did this all occur might be something good for you to put in your presentation for those that are irritated to hear.
I'll go through all of that in the presentation to hopefully stave some of that off.
Okay. Now, I don't know what happened to my video, so
Let's see.
I have no idea. You know what? I'm doing this on my Apple desktop, which I haven't done before because my laptop, I didn't have it available right now, and I have no idea what I'm doing on this machine.
Okay. I'm not sure, Phil. Sorry. I'm going to see if I can.
This would be a good time to turn it over to the vice chair, Phil.
Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. I
just lost my video.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to close the pre-meeting and just have just casual conversation for a few minutes. So pre-meeting.
Phil, I'm happy to if you can't do it, but maybe
seriously, I don't know why.
Try to leave and come back in or something.
Yeah. Leave the meeting and try to re-enter.
I guess I'll do that.
I mean, we can blame it on Zach because he's not here and he was the tech guy.
I know. All right. We'll see what happens here. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions about the agenda? Are you guys good?
I would like, give us some more context on the email you sent today. I mean, obviously I read it, and so what's being proposed and when are we anticipating that?
Yeah. So that is, we actually received an application for the subdivision. We're not going to bring it forward yet based on what we're looking at now. So let me give you the rundown. So the Trip Lane project that we did a rezone for, was it last year, Susan?
Mm-hmm. Last year.
Last year. You might recall that there were folks that were concerned about that property developing and the road going through. There's actually a protection strip. I don't know how to show you that, but
yeah.
An individual owns a protection strip that kind of keeps, it's a 20-foot width into the right-of-way that we would try to connect. We'd like to see it connected as planning and zoning. We'd like to see it connected as engineering. And that's what that email is expressing, or that memo is expressing, is that there's a lot of good reasons to connect it. The question is not whether there are good reasons to connect it. The question really is whether the city council is going to use eminent domain to acquire that property and connect the road. And we don't know the answer to that, but we think the answer is probably no. So we're not bringing the project forward yet. As a subdivision, we're going to try to work with the subdividers and see what we can do there to redesign a little bit before it comes to, so it's more like what it will end up being. That's kind of where we're at. But that's what the memo's for. Now, the folks from that neighborhood, some of them have already seen that subdivision plat, although you guys haven't, because we did get a grammar request. We got a grammar request right before we got it and said we don't have anything. And then like 2 days later, we got the application and they reapplied for the grammar request, the information request. So we've sent them those plans, and those folks have seen it. So, and I guess about 10 of them made comments at city council meeting last night in opposition to the idea of connecting that road. And so it's already kind of having its own struggles, even though it's not even made it to your desks yet. So that'll be a fun one, right? Everyone's excited, glad. But
There's currently not any connectivity through that fence, right? It's totally fenced across. People in the neighborhood have to walk all the way around to get there.
I think there is a way to walk through. I don't think you couldn't push a big wheelbarrow through there, but you can walk through. And
Yeah, there's a walk through in that fence, because I've walked through it to get so the kids can get to the junior high.
Yeah, and what we'd like to do is make sure that even if we don't get a vehicle connection like we'd like, that we have a pedestrian connection in the end.
I need quiet up there. Oh, sorry. Hey, guys. What 10 complaints, what percentage of the community is that? A small percentage or a large percentage?
I could work the numbers out for you. 52,000 people probably in the new census, and 10 residents is whatever that is. Numbers do go that small, but I don't know. Trey, the city engineer, approached us about it just to let it was going on, and that his negotiations to acquire the property were not going well. We had initially thought they would be okay. And when he let us know they weren't going well, that's what he told us. Basically, it's not going well. What do you think? What do you think the planning commission's reaction is going to be? And I said, I think if it were just up to the planning commission, we could get it done, but we have this piece where we're going to be involved in a lot more politics than we normally would. So we've been kind of trying to find a way around for a while. So.
This is similar to what happened when they put Green Oaks Drive through, right by where that exact subdivision is. That's where the Green Oaks Drive ended. And I remember going to the meetings on that and saying, well, if you connect that road, people are going to come up from the Parkway all the way up to State Street, which they do. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's been a good thing to have that road connected, sure. Even though initially we thought it was going to be terrible.
Connectivity always seems like the end of the world when you're first looking at it. It always winds up being better than you think it's going to be. Not always. There are times when it's tough, but it winds up having a lot more benefits than detriments usually when you connect those roads and neighborhoods. But we're just not being able to get there so far with the discussions. So you guys won't see it in June. We're gonna put it off and try to work some things out for July maybe.
Did you say January 2022?
January 2021. You're not that lucky.
Or January 2021. So.
Yep.
I'm thinking that's the meeting you're chairing, Scott.
Oh yeah, I'll chair that. That's it. They're all my neighbors, and I know the guy that owns the protection strip. It would be perfect.
Great.
Actually, your last meeting.
That would be your fun.
It may be my last meeting, so I'd get fired.
It could one up the bees.
There's some people that want trip lane to connect.
I do. It would save a lot of time going from my house to the junior high. So
it'd be really good for a lot of people.
Except for all the people that live in the neighborhood that it goes through. So anyway, so it looks like we're getting Phil back a little bit.
We're trying anyway.
All right. Here we go. Okay. Now, there we go.
Yeah.
It looks stunning, of course.
Yeah. Well, I'd be happy to go away, Scott.
It's. I mean, I'm fine. I can do whatever.
Okay. Well, we'll see if my video won't freeze up this time and see. But if I disappear.
If you disappear, then it'll just be a technology executive order, and I will assume the chair.
Absolutely.
Assuming that you lost your internet, it's just next man up.
I'm not going to go through all of the stuff I just went through again to stay online. So.
If I go down though, I don't know who's next. So I mean,
Phil
Marin
goes out. If Phil disappears right before the beginning of item 3. You're up, Scott. Right?
You got it.
Or the last item, 6 and 7.
6 and 7. Yeah, I think we'll be all right.
I think we'll be fine. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, we got a couple of minutes still. Anything anybody needs to bring up or that?
What's next meeting looking like?
Jared, you're muted.
Sorry, I was just talking to Susan about how we were having.
Secret stuff. Okay.
Next meeting is 5 or 6, I think, but none of them are huge. So it's kind of a run of the, I don't want to say run of the mill, more of a run of the mill meeting, some subdivision stuff.
Any idea when they think we may come back to City Hall?
Not the next meeting. The next meeting we're going to want to do just like this. The spike in cases and spike in deaths is probably lagging 3 weeks behind the reopening. So I don't have a lot of confidence for the beginning of July. We'll see about August, maybe. Okay. I think in July we might still be like this just because of the spike. We'll take a look and see.
It is a little concerning with the numbers the last few
days. We should start the meeting, but since you mentioned City Hall, what is the...
We're in the tearing down the fire station.
Yeah, they're taking down the fire station, like Lisa said.
When?
Now, the demolition's begun on the fire station. So it's moving slowly, but it has begun. And they're going, I think Melinda said that she hopes to have that there's 1 or 2 sticky issues with the tower moving, the cell tower getting moved. We're hoping to get those worked out so that we can break ground this summer, still to the hope. But we're still a couple months away from breaking ground, I think.
All right. Not quite 6:30 yet, so.
All right, I'm going to let's see. Hunter is the...
He's the right.
He's the right. Great, so he's here. Looks like we're mostly, I'm going to go ahead and start the sharing of the screen, if that's okay, guys.
Sure.
I kind of like it like this. I feel like a member of the Brady Bunch.
Yeah. That is pretty nice, right? Okay.
And you know what? That's what screws me up.
Sharing the screen?
It's the gallery view that messes me up. So I'm not going to go to that.
Okay.
After several of these Brady Bunch meetings a day, the Brady Bunch becomes very annoying.
Okay. And there we go again. You know what, Scott? It's done it again.
No, we can still see it.
I can't see them.
Yeah, I can see you, Phil.
Can you?
We can hear you fine, Phil.
Yeah.
Okay. I just don't want a black square there, you know.
No, your picture's up.
Okay. Well, I can't see it, but that's fine. That's good for me. So, all right. Well, let's get started then. It is 6:30 on June the 4th, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the June 4th meeting of the Murray City Planning and Zoning Committee. Before we get started this evening, I do want to thank everybody for tuning in via the internet and apologize for not having in-person council planning and zoning meetings. But this is at the direction of the governor and the mayor, and we think it is by far the best method to hold these meetings at this time. So with that, I just wanted to let everyone know that the format for tonight, we will have each agenda item presented by a member of the staff. They'll give a brief synopsis. Then we will ask the applicant to add any additional information if they would like. And at the conclusion of that, we typically open up each agenda item for public comment. When that happens, we will read public comment that we have received concerning a particular agenda item into the record, and so that everyone can hear that. And then also that will give people an opportunity to email any questions or comments into the staff, and the email address is trailing across the screen during the meeting. So you should be able to access that and send in any comments that you would like. And then at the conclusion of that, we'll bring it back up and vote and have a resolution. So with that, I'd like to get started on our agenda for this evening. The first few items are business items. And number one, we do not have any minutes to approve this evening. Do any of the council members have any conflict of interest concerning any issues tonight?
No.
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 I
No.
do not either. Okay. We typically have findings of fact to approve. We do not have any of those this evening. So we'll get right into the meat of our agenda. And agenda item number 4 is a subdivision project for the Marlowe subdivision. They're requesting a 1-year extension of a flag lot subdivision on Winchester Street. So Susan, you'll present this.
Okay. Okay, this application is a 1-year extension for the Marlowe
A
subdivision.
little bit hard to hear you, Susan.
Thank you. The application is on behalf of Doug Marlowe for the Marlowe subdivision. A 1-year extension. The planning commission approved originally.
Now, can't hear you, Susan.
The planning commission, can you hear me now?
A little better.
Okay, I'm gonna have to really
Move it up towards you.
adjust this. Okay, let's try
You
this.
get to project.
Susan, just channel your inner Jared and you'll be fine.
You gotta be allowed now.
Okay. All right. This is for a 1-year extension for the Marlowe subdivision, which is located at 1246 West Winchester on the north side of the road. The Planning Commission approved this flag lot subdivision on June 6th of 2019. Located in the R18 zone, R110 zone. And this is the original subdivision, or the subdivision that was approved by the Planning Commission. Our section of the Murray City Code, section 16.20.090, allows for an applicant to request a one-time extension of up to 12 months for special circumstances. The extension must be requested prior to the final plat of the expiration, final plat expiration. And the expiration would be in 2 days on June 6th. So Doug Marlowe has requested to have that 1-year extension. He has indicated that he does have a contractor and an architect and a construction loan in place, but they are waiting on the North Jordan Canal Company to complete their work. And that is actually the North Jordan Canal. There's a couple of conditions that were required for the approval. And so he's still waiting on that, and he might be able to explain a little more detail on that. But based on that city code and review of his request, staff is recommending the approval for the 1 year, up to 12 months for the property at 1246 West Winchester, and it would be subject to the original conditions of approval.
All right. Any questions from the commission members of staff right now?
No.
All right. Is the applicant? I see. I've got Mr. Marlowe on my screen. Are you here, Mr. Marlowe?
Yes, I am. I'm here with my wife, Melanie, and we're also joined with by Bill Van Sickle, who is the architect that we're using as well.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add in addition to what staff has presented this evening?
No, not really. It's pretty short and simple. We're just anxious to try and finally get going on this thing, and hopefully North Jordan Canal is also following suit. I do see a earth mover down there this afternoon, so hopefully, potentially they're going to start work very soon, and we can get this thing wrapped up.
Okay. All right. Any questions from commission members for the applicant? All right. Well, with that, I will open this up for public comment briefly. I think it's very standard, but we'll give a minute to see if anyone may have any comments concerning the extension. So we'll just take a few minutes and see if Susan receives any emails that she can read into the record. Okay, what do you think, Susan?
No comments so far.
Okay, I think we're safe in closing public comment period on this agenda item and bringing it back up to the commission members for more discussion, or I'm open for a motion if you so desire.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion That the Planning Commission grant a one-time extension of up to 12 months for the flag lot subdivision approval of the property at 1246 West Winchester, subject to the 9 original conditions.
Thank you. Do
Can
have
I
a
second that motion?
Okay, Lisa. I have a motion by Marion Patterson, a second by Lisa Morkevich to grant a one-time extension of up to 12 months for the flag lot subdivision approval for the property located at 1246 West Winchester Street, subject to the original 9 conditions in the application. Please take a vote.
Mr. Woodbury,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Patterson,
Yes.
Mr. Nate,
Yes.
Ms. Morkevich. Lisa,
I'll vote
Yes.
yes.
Yes, I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear. Yes, 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 sorry.
Mr. Markham,
Yes.
and Mr. Hackett.
Yes.
All right. Well, good luck, Mr. Marlowe, with your project. We hope you can get things rolling and make it the way you originally intended. So good luck.
Thank you very much. We do too.
Can I ask
Thank
you
you.
guys a quick question before we go on this subject? We're anxious to get going on this, and we just got the extension approved for the plat amendment. Are we allowed to go to permit approval for plans? Obviously, we wouldn't pull the permit until the plat's recorded, but as far as plans on those lots, are we allowed to submit for plan review prior to that being recorded?
That is a question for staff.
And for the record, maybe we should state who's speaking, because I can't
I'm
hear
sorry,
who's
this is Bill
speaking.
Van Sickle. Sorry, this is Bill Van Sickle. I'm the one doing the design for him on the lots. So
Thank you.
Okay, I'll try to answer that question. Typically, we do not allow permits to be submitted for until the plat is recorded. But if you would like to contact us tomorrow, we could do what we do, but that's typically the requirement.
yeah, I think all the other plat conditions have been met except for the canal company's work that they need to do on it. So we're sort of held to their time schedule. So we're hoping we can kind of get it to the starting line from our end while they wrap up their end. That way we're not losing time on it and missing the building season.
Since that condition is actually one they requested from the city engineer, I think maybe we ought to just touch base with him and get his opinion on that. And if it's workable, I'm sure he would do it, but I can't speak on behalf of him.
Okay,
All right. Well, thank you very much.
thank you.
All right. With that, we'll go ahead. We'll move on to agenda item number 5, the Wild Rose Estates subdivision. They are seeking a lot line adjustment between lots 4 and 1, and Susan will present this to us as well.
Thank you. Yes, as stated, this is a lot line adjustment between lots 1 and 4 of the Wild Rose Estates. The Planning Commission approved this application or the subdivision about a year ago in April of 2019. The properties involved, property owners are Tony Rezac and Stanley Joseph. Properties are both in the R18 zone. Both of them have far more than the 8,000 minimum square foot required per lot. State code does allow lot line adjustments based on receiving Planning Commission approval, and that's State Code 10-98-608. The home of Lot 1, which is owned by Tony Rezac, the more easterly lot, as you can see, currently has a home on there. The new lot to the west, owned by Joseph Stanley. Excuse me, Stanley Joseph. I'm probably make that mistake more than once, but
It happens.
okay. In the process of them pouring footing foundations on their new home, it was noted based on a footing inspection by the building inspectors that the side yard setback did not meet the 8-foot minimum required and was closer to 6 feet. So they have requested to purchase an additional 2 feet from Tony Rezac, the owner of Lot 1. and move the boundary line to have a minimum of 8 feet as required by code. They do have the proper setback on the opposite side, a minimum of 12 feet, and they make the front and rear setbacks. So it's just really the easterly boundary, the common boundary between 1 and 4 that needs to be adjusted. And we did send out notices for this. We have not received any public comments or concerns about it. This is a copy of the original subdivision. And we'll give us lot, and then lot 4 and lot 1. This is what is proposed to be with the boundary line adjustment. That's the request. So.
All right. Thank you, Susan. Any questions or clarifications from commission members? Okay. With that, I would like to have the applicant introduce himself, and please provide your name and address for the record, sir.
My name's Stan Joseph. The address of the property is 1057 West Aaron Park Circle.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add to the staff presentation or clarify?
No, I don't believe so. I think she pretty well summed it up.
Okay. Any questions from commission members concerning this agenda item?
No. I just had a kind of not necessary question, but just to ask. The only requirement in this process is that both owners agree to this process. I'm assuming both owners are taking part in this and are okay with the idea?
Yes, I have a signed purchase agreement with Tony.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, I'll open the public comment portion of this agenda item, and we'll have a few moments to allow people to send in emails to Susan if they choose to comment on this agenda item. So we'll do that now.
While we're giving the public a moment to comment, can I ask Commissioner Wilson what lake she's sitting by?
I'm sorry, what lake I'm sitting by?
Yes, it's really pretty.
I'm in the Uintas tonight.
I thought maybe you should go fishing. Did you bring your fly rod?
I wish. The road's actually not open yet, but the lake behind me is one of my favorite spots up in the Uintas. Isn't that pretty?
It is. I love the Uintas too. I actually know it's not open yet. It's beautiful.
All right. Well, Susan, any comments?
There are none.
Okay. I'm going to close the public comment period and bring this back up to the commission for any further comments, clarifications, or a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the proposed lot line adjustment for Lot 1 and Lot 4 of the Wild Rose Estate subdivision at the property addressed 5668 South Bullion Street and 1057 West Aaron Park Circle, subject to conditions 1 through 3.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All right. I have a motion by Sue Wilson and a second from Scott Woodbury to approve the proposed lot line adjustment for Lot 1 and Lot 4 of the Wild Rose Estate subdivision at the property addressed 5668 South Bullion Street and 1057 West Aaron Park Circle, subject to conditions 1 through 3 as listed in the application. Please take a vote.
Mr. Woodbury,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Patterson,
Yes.
Mr. May,
Yes.
Ms. McCavage,
Yes.
Mr. Hacker,
Yes.
and Mr. Martin.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously. Good luck with your home.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, now moving to toward the end of our agenda this evening, we have a general plan amendment, and we have two agenda items that will be heard simultaneously. It will require two motions, however. We have a general plan amendment and a zone map amendment. Dondi Reichman is the applicant, and it is for a general plan amendment from low-density residential to medium-density residential for a piece of property on 4800 South. So, Jared, I believe you're handling this.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Hall,
Yeah.
just for a quick clarification,
Mhm.
are we, where to go, discussing a change from single family low density to multifamily low density?
Yes, actually.
It's a minor change, but I think it might raise the hair on some people's necks, the medium density word, so.
Medium density. Yeah, sorry. So the general plan amendment is from, well, we'll get right to that actually. The general plan amendment goes from, let's see, low density residential to medium density residential, and the names of the zones are actually kind of funny. The RM10's zone name is low density multifamily because it's 7 units the acre, which is a very low density multifamily. So it's a little odd, but it's not medium density residential, it's low density multifamily. So it's a little strange, but that's the name of it. Sorry, I'll go back up here for just a moment. So these are like Chairman Markham mentioned, this is a property that runs behind the two lots at 388 East and 398 East, 4800 South. There is an address tied to the parcel, and that address is 388 East, 4800 South, just like the address of the lot in front of it. So that's the lot we used, or the address we used for the notices, but we felt like it was important to try to clarify that the property we are talking about is this parcel, 3,049 square feet, in back of these two lots. This is 388 East, 4800 South, and this is 398 East, 4800 South. So this is the part to talk about. It has been used for many, many years as a part of those two lots. As you can see from the zoning map here, it is in the R18 zone, that 3,000 square feet, not like the zoning of its parent lots that are in the RM10 zone. As a matter of course, this has been a point of confusion for a lot of folks that have called in, and some of the folks that have emailed about this particular project, these applications. This property is zoned, the two lots that are already built on, that have single family homes on them, are in the RM10 zone. The portion of that property that's in the back of those homes that we're talking about tonight is not. It is in the medium density residential category. The homes in front that are not part of the application tonight are in the medium density residential category of the future land use map. The parcel in the back that we are talking about tonight is in the low density residential category in the future land use, on the future land use map. That is a result of the nature of the way we do the mapping. When we put the Marie 2017 general plan into place, we tried to get the properties that were already zoned RM10 into the same category or the corresponding category for the future land use map. And we did that by saying those properties along 4800 South are in that category. However, that we didn't notice or didn't take into account that back parcel that's been used as part of these two lots was not touching 4800 South. And so the mapping did not include that in that future land use category. Again, just to go back to the zoning map for a moment to explain kind of what's going on. These are two developed single family homes in a multifamily zone. The owner, Dondi Reichman, has applied to change the zoning and the future land use map designation of this 3,000 square foot part in back of them, because she's trying to combine it to these lots that it's been used as part of for many years. We don't like that to happen. We don't like there to be a single lot that's in two different zones. So we're trying to rezone this back piece to make it match the lots that it's really actually and physically and practically part of. And that's the intent of the rezone. In point of fact, Mrs. Reichman did not seek it out. We advised her to make that application as staff because we don't want to recombine this property to the parent properties until it matches in terms of zoning. Her only desire is to combine it so that it can be sold the way that it should be sold. So that this home that she has up for sale right now can be sold with the back part of its lot that it's always had, with a garage crossing that line, et cetera, as a part of that lot. We don't feel like as a staff that it's appropriate to do that until it's in the same zone. Hence the two applications, one for the general plan and one for the zoning map.
And I want to mention, this would be a recommendation from the commission tonight to the city council, who has final authority, right?
That's exactly right. So the planning commission's action would be to make a recommendation one way or the other. Staff's recommendation is that it should be done, that both items should be forwarded to the city council with a positive recommendation, but that is the planning commission's task tonight to decide what to forward. And then the city council will hold another public hearing and renotice all the same neighbors, et cetera, again, and we'll have another chance to comment on it. Just for a final slide, I wanted to show you, this is an aerial photo that more clearly maybe shows that back parcel. You can see those lot lines. That's that 3,000 square feet. It's clearly just part of these lots. It's just never been combined like it should have been. That's a good goal. It's a cleaner map. It should be done that way. It's being used as part of those parcels. We'd like to see it become part of those parcels officially. The zone change and the general plan change really amount to allowing that combination to happen the way that it should. It does not, to be perfectly clear, it does not increase the land enough to put additional units on the properties. They're already in the RM10 zone. The back piece that's associated with them simply isn't. So it doesn't increase possibilities or increase the probability that this land gets used for multifamily. That possibility already exists. It's just not very practical. This is enough property for a duplex. Right now, if you were to combine both of these lots and tear both homes down, you could build a duplex. You need 10,000 square feet. You've got about 15,000 square feet. If you wanted to tear both of them down and she had combined all three together, tore both the houses down, combined this back piece to both of those lots, she would still have too little land to do more than 2 units. You need about 6,300. Let's see, as long as I already started down this path. You need about 6,230 some odd square feet per unit to get 7 units per acre. You would have less than that. You have about 6,089 square feet per unit if you combine all three of these properties together. So we couldn't approve more than 2 units on this property anyway. The likelihood then that it becomes a duplex is probably not good. There are already 2 units there. She wants to sell one. We're trying to enable her to sell one of these lots. Just to kind of to address some of the comments that were coming in from the public during the 2 weeks that the notice was out. We did get a lot of public comment, several phone calls and a couple of emails. I believe Susan's going to read the emails that we did already receive at the beginning of the public comment portion, and then we'll check for other comments that are coming in as we go. We are recommending that you forward as a commission positive recommendations to the city council for both of those items. Do you have any questions for staff?
I have a question.
Jared, I have a question.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Next.
My question is, and maybe you answered this, do the property owners already own those properties, the properties behind their homes?
Yes. So it's
the property that we're talking about?
Yeah, that's a good question, Commissioner Hacker. Thanks. This is a single piece, and these are 2 individual pieces. They're all in the same ownership. Yes. Don D. Reichman owns this lot, and the piece that runs behind him. And her intent is to combine half of that piece to this lot and half of that piece to this lot.
But they're separate parcels.
They are separate parcels, yes.
Jared, can you help me understand how it looks that the home to the east seems to be a relatively new home within the last 20 years? Yeah. How did this happen in the first place?
I don't know exactly how that happened. I think that Dondi's father, Mr. De Niro, owned them at one time, and his intent was to combine them, and it just never got done like it should have been done. And that might have come up when they were doing a building permit. I couldn't tell yet. This is a significantly older home, and it's been there for a long time. We have similar situations, and they usually result from survey mistakes. Similar situation here. Those haven't been combined either. These look to me like survey gaps or old mistakes, but I couldn't tell you exactly. Oh, okay. So Susan's telling me, and this makes some sense. This subdivision to the south of them, along Stonecrest and Cross Creek, when this was developed, there were these parcels that then needed to get combined and weren't combined. So the existing stuff along 4800 South should have absorbed these and did not. And why it hasn't been done in all these years, I couldn't tell you. It's just something that hasn't come up until Dondi tried to sell them. or tried to sell one of them, and the title work indicated that it needed to be combined with that parcel that has half of its garage on it. So,
and there's remnants around the city. I mean, this isn't a unique situation to these particular lots. There's remnant pieces of property all over the city where things like this just get missed in zoning maps, because when you're looking at the entire city as a whole, it's easy to overlook a 3,000 square foot piece of property.
Yeah, there are lots of remnant parcels that we should catch, that they need to belong, that they pertain to certain other properties. They don't always get caught. It's a big city with a lot of parcels to find. So they kind of come up organically as things like this happen for us.
All right. Thank you very much. Any further questions from commission members? Okay. All right. Well, with that, I'd like to ask if the applicant or the applicant's representative is in attendance this evening.
Yes, I am.
Could you state your name and address for the record, sir?
Yeah, so my address is 1307 South, 1800 East in Salt Lake City. My name's Hunter Curtis, and I am Dondi Reichman's real estate agent.
Okay. And is there anything you would like to add in addition to the presentation from the staff?
No, I mean, obviously I can see why certain people have brought up potential concerns, but yeah, nothing's changing other than being able to sell this property to 388 East with the garage that needs to go with it. So it's not sitting on that property line with that parcel in the back. So.
Okay. Any questions from commission members for the applicant's representative? Okay, seeing none, then I will I'll excuse you for a moment, and we'll open this up for public comment. And we did receive 2 or 3 emails prior to the meeting tonight, and I would ask Susan or Jared, whoever is going to be doing that, to read those into the record for us, please.
I'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
The first public comment we received is from Carol and Harry Nihas. They are at 4864 Cross Creek Lane. This was received on June 3rd, and it states, as a concerned resident living within 300 feet of the subject property, I am very upset that this parcel of land is being concerned to change from low density single family to medium density multifamily. My biggest concerns are crime, noise, street parking, and more traffic on 4800 South. When we moved here over 20 years ago, 4800 South was busier than we expected. Now, with the main municipalities being moved to lower 4800 South, traffic has increased even more. Changing zoning doesn't help with the problem. Street parking has always been a problem. Turning left off of Stonecrest Drive is now dangerous because of parked cars and poor view of approaching cars behind the multifamily building's fence. Between the noise on State Street and the increased traffic on 4800 South, the noise level has increased. I'm afraid that 4800 South in the future will become another 4500 South, high in crime caused by the number of apartments and movement of residents. In conclusion, I am dead set against the rezoning.
Okay, thank you.
The next public comment that we received was from Dr. Francis Dolph and Dr. Sharon Tebow, residents at 4873 South Stonecrest Drive. This was received on June 3rd also. I strongly oppose rezoning 2 parcels of land on 4800 South from single-family property to multifamily residence. These 2 properties are in the heart of the single-family zone, and rezoning would substantially change the neighborhood. While you are asking for 2 small parcels to be changed, in essence, since those 2 strips are part of 2 large plots, you will be allowing multifamily building in a dense zone with high traffic. The Cross Creek area is one of the few well-kept single-family neighborhoods in Murray. It is adjacent to the historical area as well. Do not spoil the Cross Creek neighborhood by allowing multifamily use, most likely to eventually be high-rise with high traffic and parking in the area, and little or no green space. Consideration needs to be made of the water running through the property as well. Substantial new building could cause flooding to existing properties. Please do not change zoning for these properties, as it will lead to multiple changes of rezoning on 4800 South to the detriment of current single-family property owners. The Cross Creek area properties are a credit to the city of Murray. Do not do anything to change that status. And then I will check to see if we received any additional ones.
Thank you.
None so far.
Okay. I think we've had quite a bit of time for public comment additional public comment to come forward. So with that, I will close the public comment portion of this agenda item and bring it back up to the applicant. Is there anything that you would like to add, or staff? Well, let's ask the applicant first if there was anything they wanted to address concerning the comments that hasn't already been discussed. Mr. Curtis?
No, I mean, it just comes down once I understand where some confusion could come in. And I'm glad that it was pointed out that even with these small pieces of land added to the parcels in front, 388 East and 398 East, there still wouldn't even be space for additional units to be added, because all Don D. Reichman's trying to do is sell that 388 East as a single family home as it is. And we were just held up because of this new parcel that came to light. So to reiterate, nothing's changing other than the invisible lot lines. So.
Okay, thank you. Jared, anything from staff point of view that you would like to emphasize or?
No, I think the only thing I would do is the only thing I would reemphasize is that it, again, that last email kind of points out the reason that we wanted to talk about the zoning. These lots are not the zoning of the lots at 388 and 398 East 4800 South is not what's up for tonight. They're already in the RM10 zone. Changing that 3,000 square feet does not change their disposition in the slightest. And neither one of them individually is large enough for even a duplex. So as individual lots, they're going to be single family homes, regardless of that.
Jared, can I comment? I hear what you're saying and I appreciate it. And I think it eases myself and everyone else. I live in that neighborhood, so I probably have some of the similar concerns of some of the residents in that area. And I understand why this item tonight's appropriate. It's a small piece of land on the back of the existing pile of land. And everything you said is very legitimate. I understand, though, the neighbors' concerns that if those four houses, the one in question and then the three to the west, were to all be purchased, then maybe things could change. But in order to address that change, the community would have to talk about zoning at some other point in time, not today. Today's is not that topic. Right.
That's not before us at this time.
Right. And I would point out, although you're correct, it's not before us today. That is something that's a possibility, but that's a possibility with or without the 3,000 square feet, and has been for 15 years or so. Mm-hmm. So it's a discussion that could be had, but this 3,000 is not the make or break or anything like that. So
okay. Thank you very much. Before I ask staff to call for a vote, I would just like to mention that I do agree that the Cross Creek subdivision is a great asset to the city. It's very well kept, but I do take issue with it being one of the few fine subdivisions in Murray. There are a lot of lovely, well kept, wonderful subdivisions in Murray, and this happens to be one of them. And I'm very proud that we take care of these areas and we seek to preserve and enhance them as we do our duty. So with that, I would like to call for a vote, please.
We probably need a motion first.
A motion, yes. Now this will be for the general. This is the general plan amendment. So.
Yeah, I guess the question is, Chairman, is there any other discussion on the commission?
Please.
Because we heard public, and then we heard the applicant, and we heard Jared. I'm just curious if there's.
Please, if you would like to.
I mean, Jared, just curious. So if someone were to buy all 6 of those lots, in between Stonecrest and that are how big a building were you talking about? I mean, because you said, you'd have to buy all those lots and then you could build a big high rise, but to get all 6 of them.
Well, you couldn't build a big high rise. You got 35 feet. Just
right. So you could go 35 feet high. So it still wouldn't change the character of the development.
But someone could do that today. Someone could build on one of those lots 35 feet. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I was bringing up is if someone were to come in and buy all those along 4800 South, which they've been able to do for 15 years, how big they could go. Well, they could still only go 35 feet high. So it's not really changing anything other than making sure that the lots are more what it should be. It's more of a cleanup of the lots within the area.
That's exactly.
I do not disagree with you, but I just know there's folks listening who might be having a thought I am having, so let's just talk about it. I agree with you. The setbacks would be the same. The heights would be the same. The setbacks from the front and the back and the sides would all, so visually it would look the same if in theory someone bought all 6 lots, which are not, because there's a few new houses there. So they're not going to spend the money to tear them down. But just say, if they bought the 4 houses that are older, they would barely get an acre. They would get 7 to 15 units would be allowed. So it would be an increase in population and turnover, which does affect the neighborhood, but the size and the setbacks and the appearance would all be very similar. But all those things that we're discussing could be done and could have been done for the last 15 years. So what we're voting on tonight does not affect that.
Right. I caution in all the speculation of things that could happen. I mean, anything could happen. Lots of things down the road. And so I really, I think it just plants a lot more seeds of confusion in people's heads if we start talking about potential for what if this happened, what if this happened, and I think we need to focus just on this issue at hand right now.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Chairman, I agree, and I guess to Lisa's point, and I think it's important for the residents to understand that that can appear to be scary and what's happening, and because we understand the concern that's been raised, but those are things that have been able to have been done for 15 years. They haven't been done because people do like the single family, people do like what's there. So I agree, we can't live in a what if world, but it is important to understand what we're considering today doesn't change what has been able to have been done for 15 years or what we'll be able to do moving forward. So it really is just a cleanup, but the what if can always happen. And it's not our place to say, if someone buys 6 or 5 or whatever. It was just more of helping understand that this really isn't, it's just a small piece. It's 3,000 square feet. It's not changing anything that couldn't have been done. We're not creating new potential hazards by doing this. We're not changing anything that in the future that will be different tomorrow than it was yesterday because of this action tonight. And really it gets forwarded to the city council, so it's something the city council still has to do.
That's true as well. They'll deal with this issue and make the final decision. So this is a recommendation. Okay. And I apologize for pushing the issue there a little bit earlier. I'm a little flummoxed with the meeting tonight because my computer's not working the way I'm accustomed to it, and so I'm a little out of sorts. So my apologies.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you.
With that understanding and clarification, I'd like to make a motion that the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the requested amendment to the general plan future land use map, redesignating the property located immediately adjacent to south of the property's address 388 East and 398 East, 4800 South from low density residential to medium density residential.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right. I have a motion by Ned Hacker and a second by Travis Ney to forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the requested amendment to the general plan future land use map, redesignating the property located immediately adjacent to the south of the property's address 388 East and 398 East, 4800 South from low density residential to medium density residential. Call for a vote, please.
Commissioner Hacker,
Yes.
Commissioner Ney,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner Patterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Milkovich,
Yes.
Commissioner Woodbury,
Yes.
Commissioner Markham.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. With that, and if with having the agenda item still before us now, the next agenda item is the request to amend the Murray City zoning map. And if you feel we need some additional discussion on this, I'm open to that. Or I think we have discussed the issue quite a bit. I don't know that this is substantially different from anything we have just discussed for the last few minutes. So, Jared, do we need to go through a regular agenda item, formalities with this?
No, just a motion and vote is all that's needed. We
Okay,
hope.
so if there is any additional comment from commission members, I would welcome that at this time. If not, I am also open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chair,
you going to do it, Travis? Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the requested amendment to the zoning map designation of the property located to the south of the properties addressed 388 East and 398 East, 4800 South, from R18 single family low density residential to RM10 multifamily low density residential.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Travis. I have a motion by Scott Woodbury, a second by Travis Ney, to forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the requested amendment to the zoning map designation of the property located to the south of the properties addressed 388 East and 398 East, 4800 South, from R18 single family low density residential to RM10 multifamily low density residential. Call for vote, please.
Mr. Woodbury.
Yes.
Mr. Ney.
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Ms. Patterson.
Yes.
Ms. Milkovich.
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Hacker,
Yes.
Mr. Markham.
Yes. Motion carries. And so our recommendations will be forwarded to the City Council, and that will be agended at a later date. With that closes all of the items we had on our agenda this evening. Is there additional business that staff would like to bring up?
We just real quickly, so we're continuing to work on a couple of other items that we're putting together for your next Planning Commission meeting. So we are entering that kind of season when people have family obligations and things. So let us know if you're not able to attend. We are planning to do the next meeting in June as a Zoom meeting like we're doing tonight. We don't anticipate that we'll be allowed to do more than that yet. And we'll keep you updated on that kind of progress if we're going to be in July doing the same kinds of things. So yeah, I don't have any other business really for you.
All right. Anything from commission members?
Jared, vacation doesn't matter. We can just do it from wherever. I mean, as long as we have internet.
Log on wherever you're at, right? So
very true. Very true. All right. Well, with that, I am open for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Sue. We are adjourned.